Hey, good to have you back. What we're looking at today is chord tone solos in a 12 bar blues in the key of B flat. Now, if you want to define a chord, there's no better way to define the chord than with its arpeggio. An arpeggio is, well, sometimes defined as a broken chord. In other words, what we do to get an arpeggio or the notes of an arpeggio are we just break down the chord, the notes of the chord. In the case of an improvised style like we're talking about here, when we break down the arpeggio, we take the degrees of the scale as the degrees of the arpeggio as they would happen in the scale. So we would go 1 3 5 flat 7, 1 3 5 flat 7, and so on until we run out of fingers and or strings, right? So if I were to play the B flat 7 arpeggio, the one chord, in other words, it would be like this: 1 3 5 flat 7, 1 3 5 flat 7, and brute, right? Again. You can hear that the arpeggio is a melodic representation of the harmony of the B flat 7 chord, right? So that's those four notes all played together simultaneously. Okay. Now we would do the same thing on the 4 chord, on the E flat 7 chord. And this exercise is just a great way to orient yourself to the sound of each of the chords and to be able to define the chord of the moment. It's a template for the chord. And then the F7. I'll do that one more time. E flat. And then B flat. You can hear those sounds, can't you? You can hear that they're intrinsically related to the chord progression, and that's where we want to go. So now, this is not to suggest that that's not the way I'm going to play a blues. I'm not going to do this sort of playing the arpeggios because it sounds sort of goofy, a little on the pedantic side, if you will. But the important thing is you know where the notes are, right? I mean, you know where the notes of the chords are. So you can start to cherry pick the notes that you want to hear, the notes that are the most important notes in the chord, the notes that most clearly define the chord. In the case of a B flat 7 chord or any of these 7 chords, E flat 7, F7, the notes that will define the chord most clearly are the flat 7 and the 3. The 3 tells us that the chord is a major sound, and the flat 7 tells us that it's a chord with a flat 7, not like a major 7, right? And the 3 tells us it's not a minor chord. So that's about all you need is those two notes to define a dominant 7 chord sound. But the template, putting that template of an arpeggio underneath your fingers is incredibly important when you get down to the business of actually soloing. So what we did here was just learned how to spell out the basic arpeggios over a 1 4 5 blues progression. You'll notice that I get that flat 7 on the bottom as well. It's a tone below the root. And then the E flat. Right. And then the F. And then back to the 1. All right, and that flat 7, that nice pungent sort of bluesy sound that comes out of the Mixolydian mode. Remember that the Mixolydian mode is just a major scale with a flat 7, right? That's all you have to do. If you've got your major scales already underneath your fingers, just now play your major scales, count your degrees, and flat the 7. You're going to have a Mixolydian mode and a great place to start with improvising over your 7 chords, right? Okay, looking at the key of B flat today, and if this was a help for you, then subscribe and click like. If there's anything else you want to ask us, if there's tunes like you'd like to see us do, let us know. Any questions you have in terms of harmony and theory and form, and we'll answer them as best we can, and we will get back to you. All right, thanks for stopping by, and see you soon.